welcome to yet another Fireside chat on our series Humanized Tech for Future Strong Organizations. Today, we'll be throwing some lights on the topic redefining labor, workforce agility, and labor flexibility through humanized technology. Organizations need to think about how to retain existing employees, attract talent, and retain them. Efforts into motivating and engaging existing or future workers shape up the organizations of the future. Companies need to rethink their approach when it comes to talent. New ways of managing talent are needed to compete in the digital era. With two very special guests, we'll be discussing how to best attract, engage, and retain talent, and what companies can break away from old, outdated methods and adopt new ones. For this, we have two special guests, as I mentioned, and my first guest is Mr. Balaji Ethirajan, President, People Services at TVS Supply Chain Solutions. At TVS, he's responsible for all strategic HR functions across business units in UK, United States, India, Singapore, and Thailand. He's also a member of the Global Logistics Board of the company. With more than 2 decades of experience, Balaji is a respected industry thought leader and a hands-on managing executive. He is the former Chief Executive Officer of Randstad India and CEO of Mafua Engagement Consultants. Welcome to the chat, Mr. Balaji. How are you?
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. I'm good. Thank you.
Thanks. Good to have you here and good to host you once again on our platform.
Thank you.
Thanks. My next guest is Mr. Tarun Sinha, CEO at Asan Jobs, a Better Place company. Mr. Sinha comes with more than 18 plus years of experience and worked with multiple companies such as OLX Group, HSBC, RBS, and Times Internet. He's also a digital media enthusiast and worked across multiple functions. He held multiple managerial positions and led a team of 200 plus employees. Welcome to the Fireside Chat, Mr. Sinha. How are you?
All good. Yeah, thanks for having me, Abid.
Thank you so much for attending this session. So without any further ado, I would like to ask my first question to Mr. Sinha. Mr. Sinha, this is a very simple yet important question that I'm going to ask. How do you see the whole landscape of hiring talent changing in the coming years? What are your thoughts?
I'll address it from a different lens on what do we see as challenges when it comes to the larger org and the HR fraternity as such, right? One thing that is glaring in our face is a skilled labor shortage, right? I mean, whatever surveys and external output that we've tried to generate, we've realized is that talent pool is restricted when it comes to the right talent for the right fit and the right role. Another very important glaring challenge in our faces is the ineffective hiring process. While we have evolved, technology has come a long way, we are still depending on antiquated hiring processes, whether it's not using AI or chatbots for recruitment, or not using tools like HRMS for managing your attendance. So it's very important that moving forward, to improve your effective hiring process, that we depend more and more on technology so that we can actually cut through the noise and catch the attention of the real quality candidates. I think that's another thing that most organizations will have to adopt as they move forward. The third big challenge, and what I see and how we will have to evolve and where the thinking cap is, the retaining of millennials, right? I mean, people want jobs with flexibility. People would want to get on a job for the longer term. There is massive attrition. So organizations balancing their talent pool and actually having a clear strategy on how to retain talent for the long term is something very prominent that is facing our recruiters today. How do you balance that? How do you ensure that you are looking at the short-term business goals at the same time ensuring that you retain talent for the long term? So these are the three: skilled labor shortage, how to improve and effectively use technology for your hiring process, and how do you retain. I think these are how talent acquisition policies will be defined for the future.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Now coming to you, Mr. Balaji, the question to you is, what are the key steps to strike a fine balance between hiring new employees and retaining existing ones?
Yeah, I think both are very important, because at the end of the day, I mean, it's very difficult to say what you wanted to put priority, but if I've been forced to put priority, I will focus on what I already have, right? Because at the end of the day, an happy employee is going to be an ambassador. And a happy employee, a satisfied employee is going to be an advocate of your company. So he is going to kind of, be my brand ambassador. So though I think it's important to focus both on your current employees, also on the future employees. But if somebody has to really make a choice, I would say focus on your current employees, make them valued, make them productive, make them engaged, develop them, coach them, guide them, so that they become much more valuable. Because we all know any employee who's kind of being recruited, wherever they are and however good they are, right? They have to go through a learning curve. It is, people say, if you can get it done, if they're able to start productive in about 5-6 months, a company has done a good job, right? And again, it takes time for an employee to kind of come on board, kind of get himself adjusted to a new culture and start kind of contributing. So good companies kind of focus both on focusing on the existing talent and also ensuring the right messaging goes to the market, that the company is being seen as a good organization to work with. The company offers a very advantageous, valuable proposition for an employee to kind of come on board. So I think a company has to focus on both a bit. So it is not either or. They have to focus on both, please.
Good point. You mentioned that you need to focus on both, not only add new ones, but also, to retain the existing ones. Mr. Sinha, coming back to you, we all are talking about gig economy. We are talking about gig economy from many years, but I think from the last 18 months or 2 years, it has picked up, even the discussion at least, and especially the gig workers. So with the whole gig economy and gig workers coming into the picture, companies got a whole new horizon to explore. What are your thoughts on this?
I think that's a very interesting point. I mean, the future will be where everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. Everybody wants to have flexibility of work. Everybody wants to work on their own will and time, right? And at the same time, want and aspire to an extra income, And this is not just driven by the research we've done on the employee side, but we also have realized that the business demand has become so variable, especially accelerated during COVID, right? I need a person for the weekend in retail, right? I need a person for evening delivery. And we realize that because the demand and supply are both matching and this behavior is changing, flexi hiring is becoming the future, or flexi employment is becoming the future, which we call gig. Even when we did research, we realized that 70% of the employees that we manage in our own workforce management staffing business want to do freelancer gigs, right? 15% are already doing gigs while we are not providing it to them. And some of the students are actually very keen to actually get into this foray to earn this extra income. Now, why would people want to do that? It's important to understand. I mean, I want flexibility of work, right? I want to work at my own time and pace. I want to earn some extra income, right? I want to have a more better work-life balance, right? And while I'm earning my college degree, can I have that extra income to fulfill my hobbies and buy my the materials that I need or enjoy my life or buy that handset, right? I mean, even if you look at across geographies, what we were surprised to see in our research is that Indians have the maximum percentage of people willing to work gigs, even as a primary or a secondary source of income. And I was surprised. I thought maybe some of the developed economies will have a higher percentage, but that's not the case. We're in the top 3 quartile, right? And look at the long-term potential. I mean, we see at least 5-6 years from now, at least 90 million jobs will be falling in the gig. So the future is entrepreneur, and I see it moving that way. I mean, organizations need to be ready for it, and organizations' demand is also driving this actual change. That's what I feel about the gig economy. I think there's a drastic change coming our way.
So what you're saying is future is entrepreneurial, right?
Yeah. Future is flexible. Okay. Future is I want to do my job on my own time.
So, Mr. Balaji, Mr. Sinha has painted a, very colorful picture about gig, about the horizon to explore. From the organization point of view, what is the organization's biggest challenge in exploring gig talent? Where do you see the roadblocks? Where do you see the challenges?
I think to kind of respond, this is a shifting, right? At one point of time, given my own personal experience, being on the other side, being part of a staffing business in an early part of my career, at that point of time, the way both from an employee, from a company perspective, they looked at a temporary job. I guess at that point of time, the word, this gig did not come up, right? At that point of time, people are called as temps, associates, senior people were called as interim managers, and so on and so forth, right? And the gig is maybe perhaps have come in the last 5, 6, 7 years. And it's good to see even the government is kind of recognizing it is part of one of those 4 social codes, right? On the social security codes where gig economy, gig workers are getting a formal recognition. So the thing to recognize is we are getting more flexible labor market, which is good for everybody. It is good for the companies, it's good for the employees. And the flexible jobs, the gig jobs are getting more recognition. At one point of time, people don't want to be part of the gig workforce because there is certain social stigma. They were worried about continuity of employment, certain sustained money. All of those things were there. Maybe I'm talking about, let's say, 8, 9, 10 years back. Maybe now things are changing, right? A lot of new age businesses are there. People are more open about it, etc. So coming back to your question a bit, how does companies look at it? I would think companies are more open and receptive compared to what maybe we have seen maybe about 8, 10 years back. I think talking about challenges, companies still wanted to see how do I build loyalty, commitment, long-term engagement with somebody who kind of comes and goes, or who's associated with me only for some few hours, right? So that's one kind of a thing. How do I engage? How do I build that rapport? That is one. Second is kind of a gig jobs that may be also limited to certain kind of a jobs. Companies will be very reluctant to have some of these people where there may be things like privacy, data security, those kind of issues are there, right? Where you would like to have more formal. But I'm kind of hopeful as we kind of go through this process, as the industry evolves, as the companies evolve, I think they will all find a solution. Because as I see 10 years back, it was clear no. And I think from there, we have moved some distance now. Companies are receptive, flexibility of labor market, more formal jobs are happening, and so on and so forth. But I think for it to become really integrated, for example, how do you see more developed markets, for example, let's say Netherlands work, right? I mean, which is one of the highly penetrated staffing market, or for example, how the Japanese market works. So I think it will take some time, but I think it's a work in progress a bit.
Okay, thank you so much for highlighting the true side that yes, it's work in progress. Mr. Sinha, you have been on the other side of the table as well. I would like to ask you how difficult it is, balancing between a short-term and a long-term talent. How do you use the best of both the worlds?
So I'll put it two-pronged. Typically as a manager, as a business owner, you're always looking at your short-term goals, right? And then even in our research and surveys, we say that 57% of business leaders are more focused on how to meet their current goals, their current financial year plans. Are they balancing talent for the long term? I think that continues to be a challenge. I think key will be to develop the future talent from within, right? Rather than going just in time hiring, can we upskill, reskill, rehone, retune our folks and people and have enough and very strong learning and development program internally that we prepare for the future? Because just in time hiring will not work. Hiring for the short term will not work. And just balancing the fact that I'm hiring people for the next 3 years will also not work, right? So can we hire now for the future needs, right? How do we balance that? For example, most of the startups that you hear in the ecosystem that are becoming unicorns today are product-driven companies. You have data science, you have technology, but you are hiring today to build a product and a technology for 1.5 years, 2 years from now. How do we retain such talent while you're building for the organization? I think that balancing of getting the right candidate and skill, even before you have a need within the organization, keeping them retained, and also keeping them engaged so that you build a very strong product company for the future will be important. So developing talent from within, keeping a long-term lens on your business objectives and balancing talent with that, and how actually hiring now for future needs. If we can balance all 3 things, I think we are kind of sorted when it comes to balancing short-term and long-term talent.
Okay. So coming back to Balaji, since you are leading people services, I would like to ask you one thing about, from the organization perspective, how difficult it is, or how organizations can ensure a working strategy for a distributed pan-India workforce. And what are your challenges? Because you have been leading unit in multiple countries and multiple locations, and a lot of people. So specifically about India, what do you think? How do you make ensure working strategy for a distributed pan-India workforce?
So distributed workforce, again, just for me to kind of get this question correct. So distributed workforce can be somebody like, who's working in an FMCG kind of thing. People are scattered across the country, or it can be in a insurance selling kind of a thing. Okay, when workforce are really scattered, they're not kind of working in a single factory, or they are not working in a single office building, like 2,000, 3,000, or even 10,000 people working in a campus. I assume when you talk about distributed workforces, a lot of feet on street employees, a lot of people who may not even have a permanent office. Is that what you mean, Abid, when you talk about distributed workforce?
Exactly.
So I think the more important aspect of any company is to, particularly when I don't have employees working under a single roof, right? Where I go to a campus, I have about 10,000 employees. I can even do a town hall meeting. I can do an engagement initiative. Much easier. I mean, I'm just talking about a pre-COVID period. When you have everybody together, you go to one large a BPO campus or an IT company campus, you find you can get 10,000 people together and the CEO can address these people very easily, right? Today, everybody is distributed. COVID has forced everybody to be distributed, more so with workforce, which are like FMCG and those kind of a workforce. I think the key thing is I will focus on how do I get my company culture embedded with the guy who's kind of the last mile, right? Who's kind of the person who's kind of the feet on the street kind of a workforce. So ensuring my culture get embedded, it's a very important aspect. Does my communication, my CEO communication reaches the last employee? How do I make that happen? Right? So that he knows he has the right amount of information about the company. He knows what's happening in the company so that he is broadly aligned with the vision of the company. Today, the challenge for any organization, more so with the distributed workforce organization, is does the person, my branch manager sitting in a small location in, I'm just using a word, in Assam or in Meghalaya, does he know the larger purpose as somebody maybe sitting in a Bombay or in Delhi or in Bangalore, right? So communication, engagement, the vision getting percolated down, everybody sees the big picture. These are the challenges and opportunities, Abid.
Okay. Thank you so much for highlighting these challenges and opportunities. I'll come to Mr. Sinha, and I want to ask you, since Better Place is all about technology and how helping gig workers in every aspect. So how do you see technology in enabling opportunities for future talent?
I think it's omnipresent, whether it's blue collar, white collar, or any kind of collar kind of workforce. And I'll take a thread from the distributed workforce angle also, how technology is even helping there and otherwise the organization at large, right? I mean, it complements HR. It is not technology does not supplement or remove the need of HR because the human touch still continues to be there, right? I mean, whether you're looking at recruitment and funnel and AI and chatbot to make it more efficient so that you can focus on more important qualitative parts about the candidate, whether you look at employee wellness tools. I mean, if you look at mental health, there is information getting disseminated today through tools in the time of COVID, right? Automation has really helped there. Automating the complete journey of an employee through an organization, from the day he's hired to his attendance, to managing his payroll, to the day he exit. There are tools that are available that go through the whole journey. And this has only gotten accelerated in COVID. I mean, if you think of it this way, digital tools do not, they actually eliminate the hassle and efficiencies while the candidate experience can still be balanced in a qualitative way, right? I'll give you some examples, right? If you look at employee management, there are HRMS tools like learning and development. You can, in a distributed workforce, use tools to have refreshers, communication, even collaboration. I mean, if you look at workplace, today we are doing a fireside chat in a remote working tool called Zoom or Hangout, right? So, I mean, these are things that are actually enabling it is only getting accelerated. So every single touch point across a distributed network of workforce or a white collar or blue collar organization is now getting accelerated through technology, and we're only enabling that. And the last 2 years, we've seen this like just speed off. So I think technology will be only omnipresent moving forward. The more we adopt it, the more we are less apprehensive and defensive about it, that it complements our efficiency and does not replace the human touch, the better it is for us.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for highlighting this point. Now, this is my last question, and this question is for both of you. I'll start with Mr. Balaji. What do you think is the biggest roadblock in making people understand that this is the balance between humans and technology, which is required to build a future strong organization? I think we still have some roadblocks. What do you think? What are the biggest roadblocks?
I think as long as we don't see this as in two silos, right? We should not see this in a silo, like this is technology and this is work and these kind of things, right? As I think as Tarun summarized it well, as long as we see this as a continuum, as long as we see this as a seamless approach, then it works. Obviously, you cannot remove the human touch, or you cannot remove the technology, because if you look at in the last 2 years since the COVID outbreak has happened, everybody started off saying that, okay, there was a shock, but everybody said we want to work from home, and technology is enabled and all of those things. Then people also started missing the human connect and human touch. So whenever the restrictions are opened up, people came together, whether they came together, they participated, etc. So I think, to address your question, it should not be seen as something with too rigid approach, and a good experience for an employee. So I think as long as the mind shift change, I have a feeling a lot of movement has happened in the last 2 years. People who never believed that people can work from home and all of those things, right? I think the external environment has forced us to do this, and I think now everybody is a believer. I don't think anybody is not a believer. So I think we have come a distance, even though there is an external agency of a COVID forced us, because this change would have taken 10 years to happen. Without COVID, this would have taken 10 years. So COVID forced us to change in 6 months' time. So that's how I see this happen.
Okay. Yeah, your thoughts, Tarun?
No, I completely resonate with that, and I kind of dwelled on that point in the earlier topic also, right? I mean, technology complements, supports. It takes care of your tedious tasks. Doesn't take away the human touch, right? You are still balancing that. You have to continue to balance that. I mean, failing to invest in good technology is not an option anymore. But bad technology is an equal evil. So you have to pick the right tools. You have to pick the right partners to ensure that you don't compromise in that. So the right technology will only make you more efficient while you balance the human part, and both of them will go hand in hand, and that's the future. So I think that's how I would summarize it.
Thank you so much. I think it was summarized really well. Thank you so much, Tarun. Thank you so much, Mr. Balaji, for taking out time and chatting to us. It was wonderful hosting you guys. Hope to meet you soon virtually, hosting another session, hosting another panel. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Abid, for the opportunity.
Thanks for the opportunity. Thanks for having me. Bye. Take care.
Thank you.